After an incredible, thrilling day of wing walking, V and I weren't feeling super ambitious in the hiking department, but we definitely didn't want to miss any of the beauty that Washington has to offer. So we did some research and found a beautiful little waterfall hike called Marymere Falls. This hike is located on the shores of Lake Crescent in Olympic National Park. It's almost directly across the lake from the Spruce Railroad Trail, which you may have seen in a previous video. If not, you can click the upper corner right now to check that one out. The trail starts off at a fairly small parking lot that is located directly behind the Storm King Ranger Station. If you've never heard of Storm King, it is another trail that starts at the Marymere Trailhead, and it's much more intense. Unfortunately, we didn't have it in us to attempt Storm King this day, but we definitely would like to go back and give it a try. As soon as you pass the ranger station, the trail will turn from asphalt to dirt, and this is the beginning of your 1.8-mile round-trip hike to the falls. Even though this trail is fairly short, we definitely recommend taking your time and not rushing it. There is so much beautiful nature here to soak in. We especially enjoyed all of the moss-covered trees. Unfortunately, we don't get that type of scenery much in Southern California, so it's always a treat to see it. The vast majority of this hike is a nice flat stroll through the forest. It's not until the very end that you get hit all at once with 300 feet of elevation gain. But before you get to any of that, you will get one more solid opportunity to get some stunning views of Lake Crescent. This lake really made us wish we had our kayaks with us, especially since they're made by a company called Crescent. They would definitely make a good combination. After leaving the lake, you will be heading through the only tunnel on this trail, and it's kind of a cool one. Unfortunately, the tunnel was full of graffiti, so if you visit, don't add to that and be sure to clean up after yourself. As soon as you make your way through the tunnel, you're going to be dropped into an old-growth forest. It was so beautiful hiking along under the towering green canopy of conifers and maples. And there is definitely no shortage of sword ferns and carpets of moss lining the wide, well-maintained trails. If you're looking for a hike to do with your dog, unfortunately, this is not the one. There are no dogs allowed on this trail, but they are allowed on the Spruce Railroad Trail. One of the things that you'll spot plenty of along this trail is trees with really wild root systems. They almost look fragile, and it's amazing that these tiny roots can support the weight of these big trees. And we also spotted a bunch of mushrooms as well. In this video, we are doing this hike as an out and back, but as you can see right here, there is an intersection that will turn this trail into a lollipop loop. Doing the lollipop loop option will add around 0.2 of a mile to the overall distance of the hike, but I would like to try that next time we visit. Another intersection that you'll come to is right here. At 0.6 of a mile, you'll come to the fork that will take you up Storm King. As I said before, that hike is a beast. It's 4.1 miles long with 2,100 feet of elevation gain. The views from the top are supposed to be spectacular, but unfortunately it will have to wait until our next trip. One of the reasons that we are such incredibly slow hikers is that we are always trying to pack in as much nature as humanly possible. So when we found these neat little side trails that take you to viewpoints of Barnes Creek, we had to check them out. Once we were back up on the main trail, we passed a couple more viewpoints on our way to the next intersection of the hike. The good thing is that everything here is really well marked, so you shouldn't have any trouble finding it. because the next turn is very important and you need to make a right turn at this sign to continue on to Marymere Falls. If you go straight at that intersection, you're going to continue on the Barnes Creek Trail. It looks really pretty, but it's also 17.4 miles long. Not long after the intersection, you'll come to this picturesque bridge that actually crosses over Barnes Creek. After crossing the bridge, you'll need to make a right to continue on the trail. The trail will now wind its way through some very tall and lush vegetation before taking you to an even cooler bridge. This cool log bridge will have you crossing over Falls Creek, which is very appropriately named because it is actually fed by Marymere Falls. This area gets pretty busy, especially because the bridge is only one person wide, but if you have a chance to stop and take in the view for a second, we highly recommend it. We hope that you've been enjoying the flat and mellow trail up to this point, because that's all over now and it's time to get to climbing. This is where the trail gets pretty much all of its elevation gain, but at least they have put in some switchbacks to keep you from having to scramble straight up the side of the hill. At this point in the climb, we are starting to get our first glimpses of Marymere Falls. These falls stand an impressive 90 feet tall. And if you like random facts as much as I do, I have a good one for you. These falls are actually named after Mary Alice Barnes, sister of Charles Barnes, a member of the press expedition and homesteader along the shores of Lake Crescent. And with that, we have arrived at Marymere Falls. This is a pretty popular trail, so if you're wanting a shot like this or something with just you and the waterfall, you may have to wait a second until the crowds dissipate. From this viewpoint, there is an option to climb some more stairs to go to an upper viewpoint, and we recommend doing it. Even though it does require more effort, these are some beautiful falls and it's cool to see it from multiple angles. Here we have the view from the upper overlook. You can't see all the way to the base of the falls, but it is a cool photo op of the falls surrounded by the tree canopy. Once it's time to leave, you can either go back down the stairs that you came up, or if you go off to the left, you're just going to head down a hill. It doesn't matter which way you pick because they both meet up at the bottom right before that one-person bridge. If you pick the hill option like we did, be careful because it's pretty steep and it can get quite slippery. As always, shoes with good traction like our La Sportivas will make your life a whole lot easier. Even with our grippy shoes, both of us slipped a couple of times on the way down the hill, but finally we reached the bottom. This is where if you are doing the out and back trail, you're just going to be tracing your steps all the way back to the Storm King Ranger Station. If you're still feeling pretty energetic when you get back to the ranger station, there are a couple of trails on the other side of it. There is the Barnes Point Trails and the Moments in Time Trail. The Moments in Time Trail is also a great option if you're visiting with smaller hikers because it's beautiful and it's only half a mile long. I can't tell you how difficult it was for us to pass Storm King not once but twice, but there was just no way that we had the energy to take it on. If you're enjoying watching our Washington hiking videos, I have great news for you because we shot a ton of content while we were up there, and we have a bunch of videos still yet to come. Even though we did a bunch while we were up there, we couldn't do everything, so we would love to hear from you. What are your favorite hikes and adventure activities to do in Washington? I can confidently say that this will not be our last trip to the state, and we need some ideas for our next trip. And also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, and even subscribe if you haven't already, because those things really help us out. And for all the information about Marymere Falls, as well as other awesome Washington adventures, head on over to 𝐿𝑎𝑑venturelife.com.